there forever. The longer they are there, the more they seem to sort of drift away from the core concerns of the nation. Maybe those congressmen need a wake-up call, like the final summation in a famous Daniel Webster versus the devil. Remember, he had to prove to a rogues gallery of jurors to go against the devil.
Gentlemen of the jury, I envy you, for you were present at the birth of a mighty union. It was given to you to hear those first cries of pain and behold a shining babe born of blood and tears. You are called upon tonight to judge a man named Jabez Stone.
All right, joining me now, Endeavor PAC founder Tiffany Smiley, along with federal elections correspondent Brianna Lyman. You know, classic movie about doing a deal with the devil. Sometimes I feel like that's what some folks in Congress have done because they want to stay there forever. They want to get rich there, and they forget, they drift away from what the constituents want. Right. Let's talk about why America loves a comeback story. America loves a comeback story because it's resilience and perseverance. It's about hope and optimism. It's about the American dream, the national identity, storytelling, and culture. I really believe, Tiffany, America wants to come back, that Americans want us to come back. But I think one of the biggest obstacles is Congress.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is actually Congress's opportunity to show the American people that they're working for us. It's really historic what's sitting in front of Congress right now with the tax bill, a pro-America, pro-family bill sitting in front of them. Not only that, it's also unleashing energy independence. It's securing our border. But I know businesses and entrepreneurs out in the real world, they're holding their breath, waiting to see what those tax cuts are going to do for them in America.
You know the inside scoop there, Brianna, right? What's going on?
Look, there's a lot of discussion right now. I know at least on the SALT cap right now that seems to be holding things up. And I do wish that some New York legislators, including my very own, would think of the rest of the country and not simply the fact that he is representing a state where we have horrible statewide Democratic politicians.
Why should we hold up all of this progress? Because I live in Jersey, too, because we live in a state that essentially is awful.
You're essentially holding the entire country hostage. And don't get me wrong, I get that a representative is supposed to be beholden just to their constituents, and I respect that a lot.
Should they only be beholden to the constituents? So I think that's a great question.
There's a lot on the line here for the entire country. We have 4 years to get everything Donald Trump wants done, and we're wasting precious time by trying to raise that SALT cap a little too high, I think.
Yeah, talking about things President Trump wants done. When he came out with no tax on tips, someone in the Democratic headquarters said, what did we think about that? The Senate voted 100-0, right? But there's some problems with it, right? It's an exemption, not a deduction, up to $25,000. Are you happy with it? I mean, is this the kind of sausage making we have to just accept? It's not going to be pure.
It's good. And Donald Trump knew what he was doing on the campaign trail, clearly, and he's going to follow through with it. Senate is jumping on board, which is great to see. And, you know, Charles, at the end of the day, when there's more money in Americans' pockets and less money in D.C. or less money in the federal government, it's always a good idea.
But can I just jump in on this one? I thought this was interesting because while I understand the logic here, especially in Nevada where Donald Trump flipped it for the first time in a long time, it is creating a different exemption status for certain workers. And I think of cashiers who may make $35,000. They're not getting special tax privileges.
I mean, some libertarians have problems with it as well, you know, but the bottom line is like these are the consumer facing. They're really consumer facing, right? I'm going to speak about the consumer a little bit. So we had, Brianna, Target's earnings came out today. It was unmitigated disaster, but I knew immediately they would use that as an excuse against tariffs. But not only did they use an excuse against tariffs, but check out this headline. Target cuts sales outlook as retailer blames tariff uncertainty and backlash to DEI. I mean, listen, their problems have gone on for 5 years. They've lost almost 60% of their market value. Maybe this is a lesson for all companies.
Carl, I can't tell you I know a single person who is saying, oh, you know what, I'm not going to shop at Target because they scrapped their DEI policies. In fact, that's an incentive for me personally to go shop there more. But they want to try and create public opposition to Donald Trump's popular tariff plans, which are working, in order to hopefully keep their costs low and make their profits higher.
Yeah, I stopped going to Target 3 years ago when I walked in with my boys, and Tuck-It swimsuits were front and center in Target. And I haven't been back since. But look, Target's just looking for an excuse. I do know that competition and having to find creative ways to deliver for the consumer is always a good idea.
Yeah, no, I interviewed the CEO of Target not long, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I told him, listen, my biggest beef was every time I went in with the cart, you know, the shopping cart, that rear right bug tire never worked. It was like, I'm like this the whole time. It's like, By the time I got to the checkout, I was always like a nervous wreck the whole time. All right, Tiffany, you mentioned family, all right, and I want to talk the social economic thing and engineering a rebirth of our families. A recent Pew poll, Gallup poll, shows that young Americans, men, are extraordinarily lonely, like lonelier than any other developed nation. Some countries have gone out and they're actually paying couples to get married, paying couples to have children. Should government get involved somehow in rekindling the family?
Look, how the government gets involved is giving them freedom and giving them opportunity. People come to this country because it's the greatest country on earth. They come here to work hard, to make money, to build families. And not only that, I think we also need to focus on our education system here, and making sure that we're educating our children and giving them opportunities that, there isn't just one pathway to success in this country.
Right.
It's building a family. It's outside. It's looking at trades. There's multiple pathways to the American
But Brianna, is it more cultural? Like, your generation and younger, you grow up on social media, you grow up online, just not dealing with people in general.
Look, I think our society has had this focus, a hyperfixation on sexual liberation, and a lot of young women in particular have chosen a corner office rather than a crib. And that's a problem because it's not just America, but it's a lot of Western nations with declining birth rates. Right. And Pat Buchanan once said, if you cannot reproduce, your nation cannot sustain itself.
Demographics is the destiny. That's an old saying. All right, so then let me ask you guys, you got a minute and a half to go. Why is everyone upset with Bill Belichick? He's found love. I'm confused, Brianna. What's up, my man? He found him a woman. Why is everyone so upset?
Look, and good for him. She's beautiful. She's young. I'm sure that's every older guy's dream. But I think people my age are thinking, what is she really in it for?
Hey, I have a 51-year-old friend who's dating a very young guy.
Good
so
for her.
I think leave him alone. Let him live his life.
She's 51, and the guy. Okay. So she turned the tables a little bit here.
Turned the tables.
Okay. As long as they know, as long as they know what the real deal is, both parties kind of do a wink, or is it true love?
It's turning.
But I think with Bill Belichick, is it true love, or is it does she have some kind of different incentive here?
But
I think he might love her more.
He's a smart guy, though. I mean, it's like leave him alone. Stay out of his personal life. It gets annoying when everyone's always digging in.
So. With 30 seconds ago, I want to kind of get an assessment. It feels like we're turning a corner in some of the bumpiness of early 2025. Are you feeling that, Brianna, that, maybe we're getting some sort of momentum? I think it was that Middle East trip.
Let me tell you something. On January 20th, I knew it was a golden age. I have never wavered in that belief, and I'm more convinced now than ever.
Yeah. I think we are embarking on the greatness that we can be, how you started our conversation here, Charles, that there is a new dawn era for this country.
At least that's what your 51-year friend told you. All right, ladies.
Living the dream.
Thank you very much, Tiffany, Brianna. Folks, we'll be right back.
She's going to...
A rich life isn't a straight line to a destination on the horizon. Sometimes it takes an unexpected turn.